X whispered one night, "Dad, I want to meet the Pope." Elon raised his brow, but saw wonder in his son's eyes. "Why the Pope?" Elon asked gently. X shrugged. "He talks about love. I have questions." Elon arranged the meeting, unsure what would unfold. The Vatican confirmed. X's heart raced. He packed his Bible, favorite cross necklace, and a notebook filled with questions. Reporters called it historic. A tech mogul's son meeting with the spiritual leader of a billion. But to X, it wasn't politics. It was personal. He was searching. "Do you think he'll listen to me, Dad?" Elon smiled. "If he doesn't, the world will." Vatican bells rang as the private car pulled in. Cameras flashed, but X kept his eyes down. Inside, silence. Marble walls. Gold trim. Holy stillness. But X only held his notebook tighter. This wasn't just a visit. It was destiny in motion. Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. Guards bowed slightly as Elon and X walked in. The boys' hands trembled. Swiss guards opened a chamber door. Pope Francis stood, arms wide, smiling warmly. X ran, not walked, hugged him tight. "Thank you for meeting me," he said. The Pope chuckled. "Of course, my child. What brings you here?" Elon watched quietly, folding arms. Something holy was happening. "I brought questions," X said shyly, showing the notebook. Francis nodded. "Let's hear them." They sat in golden chairs under stained glass windows. Outside, the world waited. "Why do people hate each other in God's name?" X asked. Silence. The Pope's eyes glistened. He didn't answer, just looked down. X had many more questions, but that silence, it was loud. "If Jesus loved everyone, why do some churches not?" X asked. The Pope responded, "Because humans fail, but Christ never did." "Why do they say heaven is only for some?" X asked again. Pope Francis hesitated. "Some speak for God when they shouldn't." X's brows furrowed. "Is it love, if it excludes?" The room grew heavier. Even Elon looked uncomfortable. "What about people who never heard of Jesus? Are they doomed?" The Pope leaned in. "God's mercy is wider than you can imagine." X wrote that down. "I hope so." But something still didn't feel right. X flipped his notebook to the last question. The most important one. "Does Jesus love me more than Dad does?" The Pope blinked. Elon leaned forward. "Why would you ask that?" Francis replied softly. "Because Jesus died for me. Dad never did." The Pope responded, "That's a dangerous comparison." X looked confused, hurt. "Isn't love always a sacrifice?" Francis replied, "It's not for you to measure love." Elon frowned. His son looked down. The moment felt holy and suddenly cold. "I just want to know who loves me most," X whispered. The Pope answered, "You should know your place before asking such things." Elon's eyes widened. The room grew colder. "But I thought God welcomed questions," X said. Francis looked tired. "Faith needs obedience more than curiosity." X closed his notebook. Slowly, silently. Elon stood up. "We should go." The Pope reached out. "Wait. He's a child." "He's more than that," Elon replied. The walls echoed with more than silence now. It echoed judgment. The Vatican room fell quiet. Even the pigeons outside seemed to hold breath. X's voice still echoed, "Do you believe Jesus forgives all?" Pope Francis leaned forward. His eyes scanned X's innocent face. He didn't speak, just blinked twice, then glanced toward the cross hanging over his right shoulder. Elon adjusted his blazer again, his usual confidence missing. For the first time, he wasn't in control. He was just a dad. "Forgiveness," Pope finally whispered, "is not free." His words sliced the silence like thunder. A heavy truth from the holiest man in the world. X tilted his head. "But Jesus forgave people without price, right?" The question sounded soft, but it landed like a storm. Even cameras hesitated to roll. "He did," Francis admitted, "but people forget that forgiveness demands change." A philosophical blow, deep, raw, almost correcting the child. Elon's eyebrows narrowed. X looked down. His tiny fingers twirled his shirt hem. "So, if someone keeps messing up, Jesus stops forgiving them?" The boy was visibly hurt. A bishop, standing nearby, gasped. But the Pope's gaze softened. "He never stops loving. But love doesn't erase consequence, child." The atmosphere thickened with tension. Elon finally stepped in. "He's 5, Your Holiness." His voice held steel and protectiveness. "You're talking theology to a child asking about love." Pope smiled slightly. "And maybe that's why he understands it better than we do." The statement echoed like scripture. Cameras started blinking again. "So, does Jesus love me even if I lie?" X asked, eyes wide. It wasn't rebellion, it was curiosity. Pure, burning, childlike fire for truth. "He loves you more when you admit it," Pope replied. No anger, just stillness. The entire media team froze again, sensing this was getting bigger. "Then why do grown-ups lie all the time?" X blinked. Even Elon didn't flinch. Because this was the real X. Raw, honest, unfiltered. Pope didn't respond immediately. Instead, he looked at Elon. Then at the cross again. "Because grown-ups forget God is still listening," he whispered. A tear escaped one nun's cheek. No one noticed. But in the footage later, that frame would be shared 4 million times on a TikTok. "Will Jesus forgive them?" X asked again. Relentless, innocent, searching for grace in a world trained to bury it. The boy wouldn't let the moment go. "He already did," Pope Francis said. "We're the ones who haven't." That line, that one line, became the tweet of the year, reposted by pastors. Elon's jaw clenched, not in anger, but awakening. For a second, it seemed like even he was wondering how much forgiveness he was holding back from others. "Even if they're bad," X pressed on, "even if they hate?" The child's questions turned into confessions for everyone listening, especially those who'd stopped believing. "Especially then," the Pope replied, "because hate is just hurt without a hug." The room exhaled all at once. It was a holy mic drop. Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. X looked at Pope Francis with wide eyes, his voice trembling. "Why does Jesus forgive, even when people hurt us badly?" The room fell silent. Elon held his breath, waiting for the Pope's answer. The world watching live, hearts racing as a child's pure faith challenged powerful leaders. Pope Francis paused, then softly said, "Because forgiveness heals the heart." Without it, anger and pain consume us all. The room's energy shifted deeply. X blinked. But what if it's really hard to forgive? His honest question echoed like thunder, stirring emotions everywhere, breaking walls no one dared break before. Elon's eyes watered quietly, a mix of pride and pain, realizing his son's faith had just touched a nerve in millions' hearts worldwide. The cameras captured every beat, the pause, the silence, the hope. This wasn't just an interview, it was a moment to remember forever. Social media exploded instantly. Forgiveness challenge trended worldwide as people shared their own stories of pain and hope inspired by a child's brave question. X reminds us all to forgive, one tweet said simply. Even when it hurts, forgiveness is freedom. Thank you, little one, for this lesson. The Pope smiled warmly. Faith comes from the heart, and your question shows true courage and innocence that adults often forget. Elon whispered, "This moment will change everything." His son's words, pure and unfiltered, had opened a door no one expected. One to healing. X's teachers noticed a new light in him, a calm bravery, a faith that wasn't loud, but felt deeply, like a secret strength growing. He asked, "About forgiveness again today?" said his teacher softly, and talked about love like it was the most important thing in the world. Elon listened to his son's questions, amazed at how simple words could shake his own doubts and fears. About faith and life. "My son teaches me every day," Elon confessed quietly, "that faith isn't just belief. It's the courage to keep loving when it's hardest." Kids gathered around X at school, curious about his gentle faith, inspired by how he talked about Jesus like a friend who never left. On Twitter, people shared clips of X's words, calling him the bravest boy, the light in darkness, and a reminder we all need now. Elon smiled, secretly proud yet humbled, knowing his son's innocence was touching hearts far beyond the screen and headlines. "He's teaching adults how to believe again," one user wrote, "and reminding us that even the smallest voice can roar with truth." X's faith was no longer just a private journey. It was a global spark of hope, shining through fear and doubt. Every question X asked made millions pause, reflect, and remember. Faith is simple. Faith is brave. Faith is love. One night, X looked up at stars and asked Elon, "Daddy, does Jesus know why it's so hard to forgive sometimes?" His voice was soft, full of wonder. Elon paused, heart swelling. "Yes, son. He knows every hurt, every fear, and still asks us to forgive. Because forgiveness frees our souls." X smiled, eyes shining. "Maybe that's why Jesus is so important. He teaches us to be brave, even when our hearts break." Elon held his son close, amazed by the simple truth a child had uncovered. Forgiveness wasn't weakness, but the greatest courage. That night, Elon wondered if his son's faith could heal not just the world, but himself too. Quietly, deeply, powerfully. X shared their conversation live, his words rippling across the internet, touching hearts hungry for hope and love in dark times. If a child can believe this much, why can't we all? The world asked, sparking thousands of replies, prayers, and tears. Elon's son reminded everyone that faith isn't about perfection. It's about trusting love to win, even when life is broken. The boy who asked the hardest questions wasn't just Elon Musk's son anymore. He was a symbol of pure, fearless faith. Elon whispered, "Thank you, son, for showing me what real faith looks like. Simple, brave, and full of love. News outlets buzzed with shock and awe as X's faith story went viral, stirring mixed emotions, hope, confusion, and fierce debate. Is this child's faith genuine or a staged moment? Some questioned. But millions saw the pure light in his eyes and believed. Elon's publicists scrambled, but Elon quietly embraced the story, feeling something shift inside. A new respect for his son's fearless heart. Maybe this is the sign we've all been waiting for, Elon admitted, opening himself to faith in ways he never imagined. Meanwhile, X kept asking simple, honest questions that made adults uncomfortable. Questions about love, forgiveness, and what it means to be human. The Vatican reached out unexpectedly, inviting Elon and X to discuss faith, humility, and hope in a historic private meeting. The world watched as a child's curiosity bridged worlds, from tech giants to spiritual leaders, stirring hope like wildfire. "This is bigger than any of us," Elon said quietly. "It's about faith, courage, and the power of innocent questions." Millions felt inspired, reminded that sometimes the purest voices come from the youngest hearts, reminding us all to believe again. As night fell, the world held its breath, watching a boy light a path of hope through the darkness of doubt. The Vatican, X met Pope Francis, eyes wide with wonder, his heart full of questions no adult dared to ask. "What does it truly mean to forgive?" X asked with innocent urgency, voice barely above a whisper, but full of power. Pope Francis smiled gently. "To forgive is to free your heart from chains of anger and pain. Only then can peace come." X nodded slowly, absorbing every word, feeling something shift inside, a deep understanding that forgiveness was more than just words. Elon watched quietly, overwhelmed by his son's courage and the weight of this historic moment between child and spiritual leader. The conversation paused, allowing the world to breathe and reflect on the power of simple questions spoken with pure faith. Social media lit up with clips of their meeting, forgiveness with X trending, inspiring millions to consider forgiveness as a path to healing. "A child's faith teaching the Pope," one tweet marveled. "Sometimes innocence is the greatest wisdom of all." Elon's heart swelled with pride and hope, knowing his son's fearless faith was changing lives in ways no one could have predicted. The story was no longer about Elon Musk's son. It was about a movement sparked by questions from a child's pure, innocent heart. Before we continue, we'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from? Drop your location in the comments below, and be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring stories. X's question about forgiveness echoed again. Why do people struggle so much to forgive when Jesus shows us it's possible? His voice was soft but full of power. Elon nodded slowly, watching his son's faith challenge the world's hardest truths, reminding us all that forgiveness isn't weakness. It's bravery, wrapped in love. Schools started discussions inspired by X, kids sharing stories about forgiveness, tears mixing with hope, proving faith isn't just for adults, but for every heart. Social media exploded with Navius Forgiveness Challenge, people confessing pain and choosing to forgive, inspired by the innocence of a boy who believed in healing more than hate. Elon's son wasn't just speaking, he was leading, showing how the smallest voices often carry the loudest truths in a world desperate for hope. The world paused, breathing in the courage of a child asking what many feared to admit. Forgiveness is hard. but necessary to find peace. X's faith gave millions permission to be vulnerable, to admit hurt, and to choose love over bitterness, no matter how painful the journey. Elon whispered, "Maybe my son's faith is the light we all need." In these dark times, pure, simple, and fearless, the boy's quiet strength shattered cynicism, reminding everyone that faith begins when we choose forgiveness, even when it hurts the most. Forgiveness is freedom, X said simply, and the world felt that truth deep in its restless heart. A viral clip showed X looking straight into the camera. Jesus didn't just teach forgiveness, he lived it. Can we do the same? Pause. Silence. Impact. Elon watched, heart pounding, as his son's words spread like wildfire, sparking debates, prayers, and tears in every corner of the world. Critics scoffed, but millions were moved, feeling a renewed hope stirring inside them, a fragile but fierce light breaking through the darkness. Faith isn't perfect, X said quietly. It's choosing love even when it's scary, even when you feel broken inside. Elon smiled softly, his son's bravery teaching him to face his own fears, his own doubts, and to believe in something bigger. Conversations bloomed everywhere, families, schools, workplaces, about forgiveness, love, and the power of innocent questions from unexpected voices. "This child is rewriting what it means to believe," said one viral post, reminding us all that faith starts with courage. The world was watching a new kind of leader emerge, not loud or angry, but quiet, humble, and full of light. Elon's son had become a symbol, proof that faith, when simple and pure, can move mountains and hearts alike. "What if faith is just a child's question away?" X whispered, and the world finally listened. Elon took X to a church for the first time, watching his son's wonder as sunlight streamed through stained glass, painting colors on the old wooden pews. "Do you think Jesus hears us here?" X asked softly, eyes wide, full of hope and innocence that broke through the adult walls of doubt. Elon smiled. "Yes, he hears us. And maybe he's been listening to you all along." The moment was quiet, but heavy with meaning. A child's faith bringing new life to an old place, filled with stories and prayers. X knelt, closed his eyes, and whispered a prayer. Simple words, but filled with more power than anyone expected. Elon's heart ached with pride and humility, realizing his son's journey was about more than faith. It was about healing generations. The church echoed with silence and hope, a sacred space where faith and innocence met and stirred something new inside everyone present. "Maybe faith is this simple," X said. "A quiet moment, a brave heart, and the courage to believe." Social media shared the scene, calling it a new beginning, a glimpse of hope in a world craving light. Elon held his son close, knowing this journey had just begun, and faith would lead the way. X asked Elon, "Why do people hurt each other if Jesus teaches love?" His question was pure, raw, and cut through layers of confusion and pain. Elon sighed, searching for words, realizing even the richest man couldn't explain why love sometimes gets lost in fear and anger. "Sometimes people forget what love means," Elon said softly, "but your faith reminds us to keep trying." X's simple truth rippled like waves, stirring hearts that had long stopped believing in kindness and hope. "Faith is not just believing," X said. "It's choosing love, even when the world feels dark." Elon's son was becoming more than a child. He was a messenger, delivering hope wrapped in innocent questions. Millions shared their own stories of pain and forgiveness, inspired by a boy who reminded them to keep faith alive. The world seemed to lean in, craving the gentle strength of a child who dared to believe. Elon watched quietly, humbled by the power of innocence to heal even the deepest wounds. "Maybe love is the only real miracle," X whispered, and the world finally started to listen. A video surfaced of X asking, "If Jesus loves everyone, why do bad things happen?" The question was simple, but it shook souls worldwide. Elon's eyes filled with tears, knowing his son's pure faith challenged the hardest question anyone could ask. Pope Francis replied gently, "Bad things happen because of free will. But Jesus gives us strength to overcome pain with love." X nodded slowly, absorbing a wisdom deeper than his years. Faith wasn't about easy answers, but hope in the hardest moments. Social media exploded again. Faith questions trended as people shared their own struggles and found courage in a child's brave question. Elon whispered, "My son is teaching us to face doubt with courage, not fear." The world felt a shift, a subtle but powerful reminder that faith and doubt can coexist, and that's okay. "Faith is not about having all answers," X said quietly. "It's about trusting love, even when we don't understand." Millions were moved, reminded that innocence sometimes asks the biggest questions and opens the hardest doors. Elon held his son's hand tightly, grateful for the light they were bringing to dark places, asked, "How can we be like Jesus if we make mistakes?" His voice was small, but filled with determination to understand love's depth. Elon smiled. "Jesus shows us forgiveness, even when we fail. It's about trying, loving, and learning every day." X's innocent faith became a beacon, reminding adults that perfection wasn't needed. Only courage to keep loving. "Maybe faith means never giving up," X said, "even when it's hard and we feel lost." The world watched as a child's questions pierced through cynicism, opening hearts to the power of grace. Elon's pride was quiet but deep, knowing his son's journey was inspiring a global movement toward hope. Social media echoed with stories of people trying again, inspired by a boy who believed in second chances. "Faith is messy," X said simply, "but it's worth it." Millions felt seen, understood, and hopeful again. Proof that even the smallest voices can roar with truth. Elon whispered, "Thank you, son, for reminding us all that love is the bravest choice." X looked into the camera. "If we forgive, does it mean we forget? What if we get hurt again?" His question touched a nerve in millions. Elon's voice trembled. "Forgiveness isn't forgetting. It's choosing peace over pain. Even when it's hard," Pope Francis nodded. "Forgiveness is a gift to yourself, freeing your heart from chains of anger and fear." X smiled softly. "That means forgiving helps us heal, even if it takes time." The world paused, breathing in the wisdom of a child who knew forgiveness was a journey, not a destination. Social media flooded with oud forgiveness journey as people shared their own stories of healing, inspired by X's words. Elon's son wasn't just speaking, he was changing the way the world thought about pain and love. "Faith means choosing love every day," X said, "even when it's scary." Millions felt the power of those simple words, sparking hope in places long forgotten. Elon held his son close, knowing this was just the beginning of a beautiful, brave story. Looked at Pope Francis one last time, voice trembling. If God is love, why do some feel so lost and broken inside? Pause. The Pope's eyes softened, because love sometimes asks us to trust without seeing, to hold on when everything feels shattered. Elon held his breath, feeling the weight of that answer. Faith isn't easy, but it's the bravest choice we make. X nodded slowly. So even when we're hurting, love is still there, waiting, healing, forgiving. The room fell silent, every heart touched by a child's faith that refused to give up on love. Social media erupted with thousands repeating, "Love waits, love heals, love never gives up." Elon's son had asked the hardest question and received the deepest answer, one that left millions speechless. "Faith is not perfect," X whispered, "but it's enough to keep loving, even when it hurts." The world paused, inspired by a boy who dared to ask, dared to believe, dared to love fiercely. Elon smiled, tears in his eyes, knowing this moment, this faith, would change everything forever. What are your thoughts on X's journey and the powerful lessons about faith and forgiveness he shared with the world? Where are you watching this video from? We'd love to hear your insights and locations in the comments below. Please consider subscribing to our channel, liking this video, and sharing it with others to spread the inspiration.